Hello and welcome back to Am I a Mess? A Diary to My Future Self. This is episode 3. I'm very late doing this. Um, yeah, I've been kind of busy, kind of procrastinating a bit, which I think I'll touch on in this one. Because I've honestly been struggling to get around to this, and I don't have a massive plan for this one, like I kind of did with the other two. Well, not a massive plan for the other two, but I had some idea of what I was going to talk about, but I've just kind of hashed an idea together because it's difficult to think of something meaningful. So, first things first, even though last week I spoke about having like a negative experience with some food, it was the disappointing Big Mac last week. I've got another one this week. I was in the supermarket and I wanted some chocolate, but trying to save money, trying not to spend unnecessary money. But sometimes you just want a bit of chocolate, and I saw there was like reduced some like Cadbury's bar, like chocolate bars, right? And it's this mystery flavor. So it doesn't tell you what is going to be inside. It's just chocolate with a filling, and you just get it, and then you try it, and you see what it's like. And I was really like excited about this. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a laugh," and I'll eat it anyway. Chocolate's chocolate at the end of the day. And then I get in the car, and I'm like, "Oh, I got to try this." I'm feeling honestly like Charlie Bucket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I open it, and it just looks like chocolate. I'm really excited. I break it, and I look inside, and it's kind of a pinky color, or I don't know. I don't even know what it is. And like the smell immediately hits me, and it's not good. It smells like kind of fruit, but kind of I don't know, artificial, horrible fruit flavor. I'm still thinking it's chocolate. It'll be fine. So I bite into it, and it's absolutely horrible. It's so gross. And again, like I love all of like any Cadbury's stuff is so good, but for some reason, and I got a theory about this, but for some reason, this isn't just not good. It's not good. It kind of tastes like when they do like an artificial like strawberry milkshake kind of flavor, but then uh, it's not really. It's not quite that good. It's just a weird fruit flavor mixed with the chocolate, and it's just not good. Not good at all. My theory being, um, you know, I like to imagine that the way you run a chocolate factory, um, is that you're just constantly pumping out like kind of freakish random flavors to come up with something new and revolutionary that the people are going to love, right? And it's going to make you loads of money. And you're coming out with thousands of flavors every year to test them, and but then what are you going to do with all the bars that you created? So you do this, you do a mystery chocolate bar kind of promotional thing, and then you just feed the people your horrible creations under the idea of it being a mystery bar, so they can't complain. Though I am complaining now, but yeah, I mean, I'm actually eating it anyway, not to waste it, but it's not nice. I'm not enjoying it. So there we are. Now, at the start, I mentioned procrastinating making this podcast, even though this is just meant to be like for me. Um, I have been overthinking it recently, and I've been thinking about what will people want to hear? Like, oh, I don't want to talk about that; it's rubbish. Or I don't want to just sit and talk to myself. That's like no one will listen to that. But I'm doing what I was meant to not do. Meant I'm doing what I was meant to avoid, which is thinking about an audience and thinking about like pandering to other people, and that's what this project was meant to avoid entirely. So like that's the reason I came up with the idea of this being a diary to me, to my future self, because it completely takes away that pressure of creating something to be consumed by other people, which is what my life has been like controlled by in my other aspects of creative pursuits. I guess that's what I'd call it. I do other things, like I make music and sometimes a bit of artwork or kind of game making. Um, but I'm always thinking about those things being consumed. I'm always thinking about making not necessarily a product, but like a medium to be consumed by people and for people to enjoy. Hopefully, like that's the goal, isn't it? But it's exhausting, and you kind of feel like you're letting yourself down all the time. It's a massive journey of learning um, at what you're doing. Most of us aren't experts. We're kind of figuring it out as we go along. and you're like learning and putting things out and hoping that people like them, and trying to tailor things or like take inspiration from things that people already like. That's a trap in itself, especially with like music. I think a lot of people end up doing that. um Anyway, I noticed that I was thinking too much about this. So I was just doing the washing up, and I was like, I'm like 2 weeks, well, I'm like a week late putting this out. It's meant to be a weekly thing, but it's been 2 weeks since the last one went out. I have been busy, but um, I have also been overthinking it and going, oh, I don't have enough to talk about, or I don't have a good like topic or theme to talk about, or thinking, oh, should I rely on a guest now? Get a guest in to just talk for an hour, right? But that kind of, like I said, I'm going against my original plan. So that's today. I've just finished the washing up, and I've just thought I'm going to sit and I'm just going to talk, and I'm just going to use whatever comes out of me, because I want it to be more authentic to some degree, and not, like I said, for anyone in particular other than for me. And like, kind of like the thing with this is, if people in want to listen to it, they can. It's there. It's on YouTube, But I'm not making it with that in mind, because otherwise, it's more for me. It's not actually. It's not like. It's not out of like nobility or anything. I'm not like trying to be like artsy or anything like that. It's just to take the pressure off me. And like I said earlier, I'm already worrying about how people consume the things I make, because I don't know, I guess I'm an artist of some sort, and you just feel you want to make things for people to enjoy. And I wanted to do something that freed me from that mindset, that um maybe could improve the creative process for me, and then I can apply it to other areas. Maybe, it's just like a fun project. Anyway, I'm going to talk about all of the things, the creative projects that I do, and kind of maybe the challenges that I'm facing with them, or like why I'm struggling to do them in some aspects. I do enjoy all of these things, but yeah, like I said, I haven't planned this bit. I'm just going to rattle through them and hopefully talk a bit about them. But there we are. So, firstly, I make music. I'm going to talk about that first because it's kind of meant to be my main thing. It hasn't been for a while. I've been kind of, I've been procrastinating that as well, because you get through so many ideas that are rubbish, and you're just like, you get a bit fed up, and you're like, I need a break. I need to rest my brain from writing and like trying to produce music. That's another thing. Is just like trying to do it and failing, and it kind of it puts you off. It's a bit demoralizing. Anyway, so I make music. I make kind of all sorts of music. Um, I can make like pop stuff or rock or like weird electronic mixtures. However, I do have kind of a main um, stream of music, which is under the name Colorblind Kid, which is where I've put music out under that name. That's kind of been my main project for the last like 4 years, I guess. And recently, I've really been struggling to come up with anything that I'm proud to put out. And it's it's that balance really of not wanting to put anything out, uh regardless of the quality, but like without being too much of a perfectionist. But then at the same time, the more care you take in how things are, and being a perfectionist, it you feel like you'll never get anything out, and you feel like what are you amounting to? Like, you spend hours and hours and hours on something with the hope that eventually you'll feel like it's good enough to be released. But it's just a fine line between like good craftsmanship and then like pointless perfectionism, where you could spend years on one song and still not get to a point where you want people to hear it. That's such a waste of time. Like, if you knew, if you had an exact goal of how you want it to sound, and you can achieve it in say a year or two or whatever, even though that's a long time, then maybe that's fine. But it's just a real struggle for me to balance that. The last song that I put out under Colorblind Kid was called "Don't Be Afraid," or sorry, it's actually called "Who Knew the Undead Were So Impolite," which is like a Halloween themed song, which I actually wrote a year before it came out. It came out last Halloween, but I wrote it the Halloween before, and I was going to try and put it out, but it was like a couple of days until Halloween, which is not enough time to put a song out and like try and promote it or whatever. And I'm glad I didn't put it out because when I did put it out last year, I made some kind of TikTok videos to promote it and me playing along or miming along to it, and they actually did quite well. And it was I got like a handful of followers. When I say this is in small terms because I'm such a small artist. But for me, getting a handful of followers, getting a handful of comments and quite a few positive interactions and likes on the posts for me for my usual uh, traffic to my account was really good, and it worked out in the end. It didn't do well on Spotify, um, but that's probably part down to me not being good at promoting things and just I don't know. Once something's done, I am a bit I'm guilty of being like it's done. I've done my bit. Now people listen, but that's not how it works. You need to kind of make people listen, or you like really have to engage people to get them to give you their time. Um, and I am down to do this, but like I said, honestly, even though I'd left it another year to go out, I was making promotional videos like kind of a week before it came out and kind of a week before Halloween, so I had like no time. It's my fault. It's poor planning. Um, but I suppose the proof is that even though I had no time and it was a bit of a rush, it still had a positive impact on my traffic and like to my account. People actually listened to my music, so that was a positive, and I guess it taught me a lesson of just planning a bit more in advance. The point of that story was that I haven't put a song out since that Halloween song. So since the end of October last year, I haven't put any music out. And that's not terrible because it's only been like five. Actually, that is quite terrible. 5 months, but I don't know. It depends, really, doesn't it? How often you want to put music out. Some people are like, you need to put music out every month. You need to put music out every 2 to 3 months or whatever. And maybe 2 to 3 months is a good aim, but it's just a lot of work. And it's maybe I'm not. This is another thing, another thought that comes into your head is I have thought maybe I'm not good enough at producing or writing or whatever it is. I really love it and I enjoy it and I really get something out of it. But when you're failing to be consistent and you're failing to be successful to whatever definition that fits, you I've had feelings of maybe I'm not good enough to do this successfully. Um, the thing is, that's a really complex feeling for me because I walk a tightrope of kind of not feeling good enough and not feeling like I'm deserving of praise when I get it, but then also really wanting it, and on the other side, wanting it and feeling like I am uh, worth it, and like I'll have some ideas and be like, okay, that's a great idea, like that's a really cool idea, so that means that I have some sort of talent. Like that's what my brain says. So I should go with this and try it, and then other people, and hopefully other people like it. It's just like it's really a double edged sword, and it's difficult to navigate for me. Um, yeah. So where we are now is that we're in March. It's the 23rd of March now. It's starting to get a bit warmer. I just thought I'd mention that because I think I spoke about the cold last week. But anyway, and I've been making more music, which is good. I don't have anything finished yet. That's the other thing is making music. You should be if you want to be a creative anything, you should really do it as much as you can, as often as you can, and do it crap, like make crap songs or draw crap drawings, all the time, and then eventually you will come out with something good that you stick to and improve. But sometimes you don't have the energy or you don't feel up to it. So that is what it is. Anyway, recently I've been making music, and it's not been my usual stuff. It's not been my usual style. The stuff for Colorblind Kid is kind of pop, bedroom rocky pop stuff, um, where I have entertained the trends, and I have thought about what people are consuming and what's popular, not completely to emulate other things, but just to inform the music I make to make people happy. I guess is the idea that I don't know. It's not even that conscious really. But the stuff I've been doing recently has been more like rock or like hardcore like post punk stuff. You know, if you know bands like Basement or Turnover, it's kind of inspired by that kind of stuff, and I've been really enjoying it. Um, I actually worked on some today, and I've finished kind of the rough instruments for a demo for a song, and I started doing some rough vocals today to test it out, and I was really disappointed with myself. I was really disappointed with how the vocals came out, even though it was just a quick demo. I didn't like how I sounded at all, and it did, it sinks in, and it does make you go like, oh no, like can I not do this? Like, am I not capable of doing this? Is my idea too big for me, or is my idea not suited to me? Is it like is it a good song that I can't sing, or is it like, do you know what I mean? Does it belong? Should I give it to someone else? Should I produce instead? Should I give up being an artist and produce instead? Like all these thoughts going through my head. I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I can give up being the artist because I like doing it myself and I like doing it the way that I like it, which, you know, a bit of a control freak in terms of my own music. That's not to say I wouldn't produce for other people or write songs for other people, because I am down to do that and I'm down to collaborate in things. I've got some things possibly in the pipeline for that later on. But yeah, it was a bit of a knock I had today, thinking, ah, I'm not, maybe I'm not good enough, right? I'm gonna, anyway, I'm just speaking my mind, but I'm not gonna give up on it. I think I will. I'm gonna keep trying. I'll find something that works. I think that's kind of what I've. That's always been my plan. Is I'll try something the way I want it to be, and if I can't do it exactly how I want it to be, I just look. You look for workarounds, and you look for like techniques to make you sound different or sound the way you want it. You know, another issue that kind of ties into that is the sound of your own voice. I don't know if other people struggle with this, but I don't know. I'm very conscious of the tone of my voice. I mean, this is doing this has helped because I have to listen to myself talk, and it hasn't been that painful. So that's a new thing. That's is an improvement. But singing is like a whole other level. I feel. I don't know, because a melody it can be perfectly in tune and nice, but then you can just hear yourself. You can hear your voice in there, and you're like, oh, what's this loser doing? You know. Well, I've got kind of a low but nasally voice. It's a weird combination, but and I don't know, when you're aware of how you sound, and you think your friends are going to listen to it and go, oh, that's just Nat singing, like that's just Nat's voice. That's weird. That's not. But why is that? It's such a strange concept that I don't know. Singing voices have to sound a certain way to be cool, but then some singers have had like really weird voices, like really distinct voices, like I don't know, like the Smashing Pumpkins or I guess the Smiths, or someone like that. Is they've got odd singing sounds and not bad ones, especially the Smashing Pumpkins. I love the Smashing Pumpkins, but his voice is not everyone's cup of tea. I'm sure he doesn't care. Um, I really like it, but I also see why some people don't, and I guess it's that maybe I don't know. Maybe some people will be alright with my voice because they don't know me. Is it just that? Is it just not knowing someone? Because I think if you know someone, maybe it spoils the illusion a bit, and you think you can just imagine me. If you know me, you can just imagine me sat in my room recording it. Maybe that spoils it. But if you don't know me, maybe you just hear it for what it is, and you like it or you don't like it. So the new music that I worked on recently is not gonna go out under the Colorblind Kid name because it doesn't match the vibe and the music that I've done in the past. I'm not going to give up on that, but I'm going to go with what is currently flowing, you know? This is kind of working to some degree and I've got some sort of inspiration. So I'm just going to kind of go with it for now. If I have any more ideas for Colorblind Kid stuff, I'll switch over and I'll work on a bit of that at the same time. But yeah, I guess this new stuff is kind of like post punky, I don't know, stuff, rocky music, and I do want to explore it more, and I want to get more back into that scene because I used to be in like a kind of a pop punky band back in the day when I was a teenager, when I was a wee lad, and I loved it. Um, I had an absolute blast. We were called Stiff Richard. That's an absolute blast from the past there. I loved it, but you know that ended up ending, which is fine. but I do kind of miss the rock scene, and I miss doing gigs, and I miss playing like the bass or an electric guitar or something live because it's just so fun. Um, so I guess my aim for this music is more aligned with the gigging or like rock band thing in mind, that like it would be good to be getting a group again and get gigging again. Just need to find the right people to do it with, I guess, that share the similar vision to the music I want to make with this. So I think what I'm going to do is come up with like 3 or 4 demos of songs in this style, and then like I'll share them around with people, and then see if I can find people who are interested in joining me in it, and maybe can improve it as well, because I don't know everything. And then the colorblind kid stuff being kind of like bedroom pop bedroom producery things, that it's just like me making fun beats in my room. um I feel like that can remain like that until it goes anywhere, if it does. I think it can stay just me putting music out on Spotify, that's like, a laugh, or it's got like a groove to it, that people want to listen to. And, if that ever were to become successful or blow up or anything, then, you can think about doing gigs. But I feel like for that kind of music, it's not my priority. It's not my priority really to perform it live. I can just make the beats, make the music at home, doing all the instruments by myself, and it's just fun. And then I put out what I'm happy with, and then hopefully people like it. As opposed to making music that I'm writing to perform live, if that makes sense. So that's a bit about the music that I make, and kind of the troubles that I'm having with it at the moment. It's been a bit of a thorn in my side, but we move, and things will improve. I just need to stick at it. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is game production, or more so, or also game art production. But I don't know, it's a bit of everything. This is something that I'm a complete beginner at. I'm not good at it. Um, but it's something that I'm interested in. I've been a big gamer since I was like, I don't know, 10 years old, probably, maybe a little bit younger, but properly like 10 years old. And ever since then, I've just gamed all the time, and I love it. And I love kind of the magic behind it. And I like watching the behind the scenes stuff that gets put out of the making of games. And um, like there was recently an Unreal Engine tech demo a couple of days ago, where it was showing like the new features in the new version of the engine, and it just looks amazing. I'm so interested in how games evolve. Anyway, um, I have in the past been working on a little indie game by myself, um, just kind of a story game. I've been mostly influenced by simple story games. Um, Funnily enough, I'm going to mention Undertale because I know it's extremely popular. It's got like a giant fan base, and I know it came out a long time ago, and it boomed, and it was like massive. Like people loved it, but I never saw it. I never knew anything about it when it came out. Like I only really saw it when people were played. I think there was a demo before the full game came out, and people were just playing like the first area. I saw so and so plays Undertale, but I had no idea what it was or anything like that. But then, like 3 years ago, give or take, maybe a bit less, um, me and my girlfriend were watching Jacksepticeye play Undertale, and I've never been. He's not one of the people I usually watch, but we were, and I just like loved the game. I thought it was so interesting. We both immediately bought it on our Switches, and we both played it ourselves and did our own playthroughs, like kind of as we watched his. And I was just like blown away by the story and the fact that it was such a simple art style to a degree. There's some like beautiful bits, but it's quite a low resolution kind of pixel art game. Not like mega low, but you'll see if you just look it up, you can see it's not like really high resolution images. It's just like, I don't know exactly. I don't know the technical terms right now off the top of my head. Anyway, it's quite simple, right? And I'm pretty sure some of the art was made in like MS Paint, and I know the game was made in Game Maker Studio, I think, which isn't used by too many. I mean, it has a community of people who make games in it, but it was not. It's not really the one of choice. Like people, by the time Undertale came out, I have a feeling people were using Unity more and stuff like that, which is another game engine or game making software. Um, anyway, it was made by a guy called Toby Fox, and he had some help with artwork as well. But the crux of the story and the concept and everything was just like birthed by this one person who had all these ideas for characters and all this stuff, and the story, the wider story and the lore of the universe and stuff. And it's mind blowing. I honestly think it's one of the best games ever made, and I'm like 10 years late making this opinion, but I'm just talking to myself here. Um, it had like a profound effect on me, and that doesn't happen often, especially with games. I do enjoy games, and they've been emotional for me before, but this game was just different. Like I don't know. I don't. Okay, spoil it. I mean, if you haven't played it, I don't know, or if you don't care, it doesn't matter. But um, there's okay. I'm gonna get into spoiler territory here if you haven't played it. Um, there's aspects of the game where the characters address you as the player, and breaking the fourth wall is something that I was familiar with, but I haven't really seen it executed in such an effective way before that really unnerves the player or viewer, whatever. And it was like dead scary. Like, not like it didn't like freak me out, but just the way it was executed was just so well done. And it starts to make you think about all the decisions you've made, to the characters. Like we're just like playing with these pawns, and I don't know, like depending on how you play the game, say you choose to kill everyone in the game, you know, in real life well, there's no consequences to that, but in the game world that, you've massacred everyone, and it turns a mirror around at you and goes, you know, is the villain of the story, the one in the game, or is it you kind of playing God with these characters? And it's just crazy. Like when you come to that realization, it's just mad. And there's way more layers to it. I've probably butchered it, but I'm just rattling off what's in my head about it. Anyway, that was a bit of a long rant, but my point is stuff like that, simple but effective storytelling. I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, I'm not gonna make the next like Call of Duty, am I? I'm not that skilled, but I can make like a little pixel art indie game to tell my story. So I started up on tutorials for Game Maker because that's what Toby Fox used to make Undertale. I read that it was quite a simple thing to learn. So I got on the YouTube tutorials, checked out a bunch of them. I found some really good ones of people being like, how to make your first game, how to make like a simple role playing game. And I learned them, and I know like the basics. Like I can do movement. I'll get to where I am now in a minute. But at the time I did started this, which is probably like a year ago, and I've just kind of experimented ever since. Every once in a while. Um, I just started making simple, four directional movement game and some crappy artwork that I made in this program called Ace Sprite, which is very, very good. It's great for pixel art. Anyway, made some like crappy animations and just like could walk around a level, right? And I just learned a bit about that and like layering the world up, so having a background and having objects and things. And yeah, that was kind of it for a while until last year, where I kind of got sucked back into it again, such as kind of the cycle of my life is, which is bouncing from project to project and then forgetting about everything else while I'm focusing on one. I was back on experimenting with games, and I had this idea about a story game about a cat in a city who he wakes up in the morning and everyone is gone. All the people, like it's usually bustling, it's usually like horrible people everywhere, like shouting at this stray cat or like telling it to get lost. But there's like no one around, right? And the story is the cat has to investigate the city to find out what's going on, where everyone's gone, and then comes across a dog, which is the other character, and then the two of them kind of unlikely. I'm not going to say friends necessarily, but unlikely companions. Agree to investigate together, and that's as much as I'm going to say because I do still want to finish this story, and I do want to put it out eventually, and I'm planning to. But yeah, so I started. I've kind of made some I've made a start on it, last year and the end of last year, and I did kind of tease it on my social medias a little bit, and got uh, the usual supporters kind of coming through and interested in it. So that's nice. And another nice thing about indie game making is that Twitter is quite a nice space for it, in the sense that everyone's always sharing the projects they're working on. And also, people want to hear about the projects you're working on. They want to see the art that you've made, and that even though I've only interacted with it a little bit so far, I know that space is there, and I know it's quite welcoming. In and also in terms of advice, it can be quite nice to just comment on someone's thing and say, "Oh, how did you do that?" Or or "I'm trying to do this. How would you do it?" Whereas some other spaces or forums that I've been pointed to have been not welcoming, and actually people can be really rude on them as well. So I'm literally just staying out of forums, and I'm staying off like I'm not going to mention any in particular, but some like Discords that are about certain game making aspects are not particularly welcoming and can be quite condescending because they know and you don't. And some people like to remind you that you're dumb. Um, anyway, um, so I was very pleased to like be working on it and getting a little bit of feedback on Twitter about it, and just excited to plod along. And I did a fair bit. I worked on like a main area of the spawn, and just putting in collisions in walls to walk into, so it felt more real. And yeah, I mean, I made a bit of progress on the first level, and I started to learn kind of interacting with objects and having a text box come up to tell the story, because the cat isn't going to talk with its it's not going to be audio. It's just going to be kind of text coming up like an RPG game usually is. And I got that far into production. I got that far into moving around, collisions, artwork for it, and then text coming up on the screen. And I reached a couple of roadblocks with that. And obviously, going off the limited YouTube tutorials to learn these things, after I'd made a certain amount of mistakes and struggled a bit, I'm like, okay, I'll give this a break and I'll come back to it another time. Well, I haven't gone back to it yet. And it's not because I've given up, but like I said, it's because something else piques my interest, and then I get sucked into that, and I have to drop everything else. I really struggle to do everything at once. So yeah, um, that game is still going to happen one day, but I don't know when. I'm sure after this kind of period of me doing music, I'll end up going back to it, but we'll have to see. I'll update if there's anything on here, because it's I don't know, it's a thing going on in my life, so maybe I should update during these. So the final and kind of, I would say this is probably the biggest scope idea that I've got. Like the final creative project that I've got going on in the background is an animated TV show. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a TV show. When I make it, it's not going to be a TV show, because that costs millions of pounds, and have to get picked up by a network or whatever, and you can't do that all yourself. However, it's kind of more the concept for a show and some animatics and artwork to show what it'll be. So that sounds really ambitious, and it is, but it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to write a story, like a proper big story. And yeah, I'm a big fan of like animated shows, um, like Avatar, or like She-Ra. That's another good one. Yeah, Futurama, which I mentioned in the past. But staying away from purely like comedy animated shows, I wanted it to be more of a story driven thing about characters and about their relationships and the world and what's going on and everything, right? So my idea is, it's called Athora, um, and she's the main character. Um, she is a kind of lumberjack. Um, she's like 18 years old or something. So she's a teenager, um, and she lives with her uncle, who is a strange kind of purple mage cat-like humanoid character. So it's a fantasy world, right? I mean, I didn't say that to begin with, but there you go. It's like a fantasy world. They live in kind of a snowy forest area, and Athora chops down trees to help her uncle, who he kind of is a carpenter, right? It's his day job. He is, even though he's like a magic humanoid man. His day job, he's a carpenter, and he makes things out of wood. So Athora's chore is to chop down trees for him. So she's handy with an axe, right? This is a terrible pitch, but it is what it is. I'm just telling you what it is, right? She is handy with an axe, and she's she's in decent shape because she chops down trees every day, so she's quite strong. Anyway, um, her uncle, who's not really her uncle, he's more like an adopted uncle. He's her guardian and he looks after her. Um, he's not really explained too much about her past other than that her parents have passed away. So she doesn't know anything about her parents, but she's just getting on with it. Anyway, I haven't ironed out all the details. Anyway, one day Athora comes downstairs. I'm going to give you the synopsis of the start that sets up the show, right? Um, or what will be a show. It's going to be probably animatics or a comic first, something that I can actually do. Um, okay, so the premise is Athora comes downstairs one day and she has a discussion with her uncle about leaving the area that they live in because up until now, turning 18, Athora has been told that she has to stay in where they live in the forest, right? She can't go off into other places because it's dangerous for whatever reason, right? Her uncle doesn't let her. And she's like, okay, well, I'm an adult now. I'm 18, right? So I should be able to go wherever I want. I can look after myself, blah, 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 blah. And her uncle's like, I'm sorry, but you're still too young and you can't look after yourself, so you have to stay here, but maybe next year I'll let you go. So they like argue and she's upset. So she's like, fine, I'm just going to go chop some wood. All right. And she like slams the door, leaves, and she goes onto the forest. Like she's annoyed, muttering to herself, like, what an idiot. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't believe in me. She starts chopping down trees and she's angry at the situation. She's getting more and more angry. And basically, she chops down a tree in like one massive hit. She like slices clean through it, and she's like, "What?" Like I didn't know I was that strong. And the tree like nearly squashes her, but she catches it with her legs, and she's like, "What?" Like she has like a Spider-Man moment where Spider-Man's powers come in, and he's like freaked out. And it turns out that Thora has like super strength, right? And she's like, "What the hell is going on?" So she goes back to tell her uncle what's happened, and he's like, I knew this day would come soon. Sit down, let me talk to you. So basically, her uncle tells her that she comes from a line of like ancient gods or something like that. She's actually like the offspring of gods, right? And, he's been protecting her for as long as he can until her powers come through because there will be evil out there who want to take her and maybe take her powers, steal her powers. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. I don't want to say too much more because, like I said, I do want to do. I want to do this in detail, and I want it to like be put out for people to enjoy. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll get that far, but anyway, that's the base premise. Thora, you know, has powers. She's kind of descendant of godlike beings that aren't around anymore. But she probably wants to find out, where they are or what happened to them, and you know, she wants to use her newfound abilities to protect herself and those she cares about. And there we go. So, in terms of the progress on this one, obviously this is the biggest scope, like I said. I've designed most of the characters that I want to use, including some side characters, which is nice. And I've also written about the relationships between them and possible events that can happen, down the line. um, like tension people will have between each other, arguments perhaps, or even positive things between characters. And I'm feeling good about it. Like I've got quite a clear view of what I want it to be like and how I want it to pan out. But then there's a lot of room for adventure and like other things to happen. So I've like drawn uh kind of digital art drawings of the characters. It's cartoony style, but I've drawn pictures of the characters. I know what I want them to look like, and I'm pleased with the rough designs. So literally, it's down to me to just draw these guys in different scenarios to tell the story. You know, there's nothing stopping me from making an animatic for this now. Um, but I haven't yet. And I came up with this idea last year as well. Kind of the tail end of last year. I don't know, over the last 5 months of last year, I came up with most of this. Though this was based on an idea that I had ages ago with my friend Alex, but it didn't end up going anywhere. I've kind of revived it, and I've spoken to him about it, and he's on board. He's supportive of the new ideas, so that's good. But what isn't good is that I haven't done anything yet. Um, I've done some drawings. I did start an animatic last year, and I didn't get very far. Um, and this one is probably on laziness and also just like having the time as well. Because obviously I have time to do things. I found time to do music and things like that, but I haven't found time to do this yet. And I wonder if it's just because of how big of a project I know it's going to be. But at the same time, I've got no excuse because drawing one frame of an animatic, even if that takes me an hour, or even if I do half a frame of an animatic and it takes me 10 minutes, that's still progress. But I can't seem to do any. So there we are. I don't know what the issue is there. I think, like I said, like I've mentioned, I think it's just because I've been under the spell of the other things that I've been doing, like the music or the game artwork or the game making. Maybe this is the next thing. Maybe this is next on the turntable where when I get sick of doing this music, I'll jump back to that and then I'll start working on the animatics. But it's just a weird one. It's a weird one how much I can procrastinate things, even things I really, really want to do and I believe in. And that sounds crazy because you might say, I don't know, you'd be in your right mind to say, like, if you really cared about doing it, if you really cared about creating this and putting it out, then you would just do it. Like, you would, you're in a privileged position to have time sometimes to do things, right? Why don't you just do it? If you really cared, you would. But I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, to be honest. Oh, well, no one said that. I just made that up. But maybe that's me saying that to me. Like, why can't you just do it? And it is frustrating because I have good ideas, I think. I think it's okay for me to say that. And I want to realize them and, like, put them out into the world for other people to see or, like, critique and, like, give me ideas. But I just can't. I don't know why. It's just taken me a long time. Maybe it's just all the other things going on in my life and I feel like I can't commit to things. It might be that. But, you know, I'm sure it'll get there. Um, yeah, I'm, talking about this again. Maybe I just have trouble remembering things because talking about this now, I've got excited about it again, and I'm now thinking, God, I want to work on that now and get the animatic done for the pilot. So maybe I just needed reminding from myself that it's something that I want to do. Just hope I don't push the music out my brain just yet because I still am working on that right now. So there you are. That's the main three things that I'm working on, or trying to work on, and I'm failing to complete. Um, I've always struggled to finish things, like songs, but then also I have finished songs and put them out, so I can do it. I just need to get a grip, and I also need to sort my life out because I think when you've got other things on your plate, I think it's hard to commit to things, like I kind of said earlier. Um, so I did want to go into um, other things that have been going on in my life recently. So, the first thing, which is a positive, is I got offered a full time job. So, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I left my old job and I've been looking for new jobs. And I was going to do some teaching assistant work, which I'm still interested in doing one day. However, uh, I was also looking for a full-time job at the time because need to be able to contribute to, rent and bills and things, and be not, uh, a freeloader, like doing nothing, because it doesn't feel good and it does get you down eventually. Um, so I've been doing quite a bit of job searching and applying for jobs, and I applied for one a couple of weeks ago, probably nearly exactly 2 weeks ago now. That after my interview, I actually got offered like a few days after, so I was very pleased with that. I seem to be able to do interviews quite well. I think it's because I can talk to people regardless of my qualifications or levels of expertise. I think I can be personable, which is a good thing. So yeah, I've been offered a full time job and I've accepted it. And I've sent, you have to fill in like a million documents. There's no disrespect to these people in particular. It's everyone. I also had a thought. Is that just a? I mean, surely it's not. But I wonder what the customs are like in other countries for getting jobs. Like in America, I don't know if you have to fill in all these kind of. I know you sign a contract, right? You're under contract when you have a job. But in the UK, at least, in my experience, you have like your contract that you sign, your job offer. Then you also have like 10 other forms that you have to fill in. All your personal information. You have to send them copies of all your personal information and identification. And I understand it, and it's probably a good thing, but it's also kind of crazy how much you have to send back. So anyway, I've done all that, and I'm just waiting on a start date. So that's a positive, and I'm pleased to do that. Um, it's I'm not going to go too in depth exactly where it is and what it is, but it's mental health support. So I'm very interested in doing that, and it's going to be nice to hopefully help people or support people in some way. Um, so that's good. Something that's not so good is that my health has not been good, especially after the last podcast. It's kind of been deteriorating since then over the last probably month. And I know the last podcast wasn't a month ago, but over the last month it's deteriorated quite severely. And since the last podcast went out, it's got a bit worse, which is frustrating. So it is my Crohn's disease, kind of kicking my ass. And I'm doing all right in the sense that I'm just about functioning. I'm like just about scratching the surface of functioning. Um, like I'm getting up and I'm eating and I'm doing some housework when I can, and I'm like I've got a job, right? So I've done like the minimum things a human should hopefully do. But I'm struggling. I'm very tired. I'm very tired all the time. Um, and not I don't mean like it feels like I need more sleep, which it does, but that's not what I meant. What I meant is that when it gets to 5 o'clock, my whole body goes, "You need to lie down now." And then when it gets to like 9 o'clock, my body's like, "You need to sleep. Like you need to pass out now." And I've been kind of routinely falling asleep sat up when it gets past 10 o'clock. If I make it, when it gets past 10 o'clock, I'm just like nodding off to whatever we're watching, and it doesn't feel good. I feel like an old man, to be honest, and it sucks. So that's my little moan about what's going on. I've tried to talk to the hospital, but I wasn't able to get through. And then when I did get through, they had to ring me back. But then when they rang me back, I was busy, and it was quite late in the afternoon. So I just missed the call, and then I couldn't ring them back because it was like, a lot of these hospital places or uh, practitioners involved they call you from kind of unknown numbers, if that makes sense. So you can't ring them back. Anyway, it is my responsibility. I do need to like contact them and I need to knuckle down and just get it done. But, as you've heard, I struggle to get around to doing things sometimes, especially when I've got other things going on. So when say I spend a week concentrating on the job and all this stuff, it's quite a good chance that I'll forget to do the hospital thing, the phone calls and whatnot, even though it's for my own good. Anyway, I will get that sorted soon. Um, and I hope I do because I need to sort something out. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to try another dose, like a higher dose of this stuff or more frequently take it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just about coping and I think I'll be all right to work. I mean, I've let them know about my illness just in case it's an issue. It shouldn't be, it should be okay. And I think I should be able to cope with the shifts involved. Um, but regardless of that, hopefully I'll be able to fix my body soon and be feeling a bit better. So that's the goal. So maybe I'll outline some goals for myself because I'm going to listen back to this while I'm editing it and probably listen to it all because I'm a weirdo and I just want to hear that it doesn't sound strange when it's uploaded. Um, I need to, first and foremost, I need to sort my health out because that's really important. And that's what's going to hold me back. Like, not doing my music isn't going to hold back the other things in my life. But if I leave my health unchecked, and this goes for anyone watching, again, I'm breaking that rule that I broke in the first episode of giving any advice on a podcast. You don't have to take any advice from me. I'm not qualified. However, I think it's fair to say that you can't do anything if your health isn't looked after. So, yeah, give them a call if you have to, which is what I need to do. Talking to myself now, phone the hospital, sort it out, and then, and now I can think about finishing my music and my game and my animated show. Oh dear, it's just too much, isn't it? But it is what it is, you know. You gotta work to pay the bills, but then you've got to do these things that make you happy at the same time. So it's all a balance, isn't it? Now, I hadn't actually thought about the music segment this week at all until just now when I paused the recording to think about what to say next. But then I thought, it came to me. This is about me and the stuff I do. Oh, sorry, there's like talking outside. I thought it'd be funny to shout at them at the window then, but I'm not brave enough to do that, and it would be mean. So they've walked past now. It's all good. Anyway, I thought since this episode was about the stuff that I make, and I've spoke about my music as well, I might as well do one of my songs, get out of the way, right? It was going to happen at some point. So let's just do it while we're early in the series, and then I don't have to do it again, right? So I think I'm going to pick. Oh, it's tricky. I haven't actually decided. There's two songs it could be. One of them is called "It Is What It Is," which is purely about kind of struggling, and that phrase of "it is what it is." Um, but then the other one is called "I Want to Live in a Treehouse," which sounds insane, but it's actually the song I'm most proud of. I don't know, it's kind of a bouncy tune, and I don't know. I wrote that the lyrics of that had in mind kind of not wanting to conform with how we're meant to live our lives, if that makes sense. Like not wanting to, do follow the step by step that everyone else does, like get a job, get a car, get a house. Do you know what I mean? And being afraid of that. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna say you should listen to both of those, because they're mine. But that's so tricky. Um, I'm gonna go with Treehouse. I'm gonna go with Treehouse. If you're on Spotify and you want to listen to "It Is What It Is" as well by Colorblind Kid, then go for it. However, for the sake of this episode and kind of the themes, I'm just gonna go with "I Want to Live in a Treehouse" by Colorblind Kid. Me, because I like the message behind it. Even though it does sound like a bit of nonsense, the song, but I don't know. You'll get the gist, I think, and it's a good one. It's one I'm actually proud of. So let's go with that. I think that's a good enough reason. So once again, if you're listening on YouTube or something like that, you will have to get the song up yourself. The link will be in the description underneath the video. However, if you're listening on Spotify, it will just play automatically when I shut up. Okay? So, yeah, this was a bit of an ad hoc, all over the place one, but like I said at the start, I do want to just go with the flow with these. And, it's meant to be a diary, right? And diaries aren't, typed up in italics, are they? They are scribbled in a book. So that's what this is, me scribbling in a book. So anyway, sorry that it was late again, but anyway, I'll try to stay on schedule. I probably won't, will I? But I'll try my best. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.